Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm April Kim Tonin, the Aisha Bolchandani Head of Education and Public Engagement here at the Frick Collection. I'd like to welcome you to the Stephen A. Schwarzman Auditorium. Just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. Please silence or turn off your cell phones, and note that photography and recording of any kind are not permitted during this evening's event. Thank you. I'm delighted that you have all joined us for our inaugural lecture in the new series titled Live at the Frick. From the day the Frick Collection opened its doors to the public in 1935, the museum has been a source of inspiration for countless visual artists, writers, composers, musicians, designers, and other creatives. I have lost count of artists and really everyone who have told me over the years, the Frick is my favorite museum. Well, it's certainly mine, too. This evening's program is the first in our new lecture series celebrating this institution's cultural legacy by inviting today's luminaries to share their personal connections to the Frick. I'm honored to introduce Live at the Frick, Maira Kalman on Everything, featuring artist, writer, designer, and longtime creative collaborator with the Frick, Maira Kalman. Her contributions to the Frick include a suite of illustrations and reflections on Rembrandt for the diptych Rembrandt's Polish Writer, in which Maira entertains questions about Rembrandt's mysterious equestrian portrait. Maira also penned in her distinctive handwriting an ode to Goya's portrait of a lady in The Sleeve Should Be Illegal. This book is the ultimate homage to the works of art in the Frick's permanent collection. Maira is joined by other iconic Frick aficionados as they share various memories and experiences related to the museum. Some discuss their favorite object in the collection, I'm sure you all have one too, while others recall their first visits to the Frick. In her contribution, Maira reflects on what she likes to eat after seeing her favorite work of art. But you'll have to read this book to discover Maira's preferred post-museum snack. And I know that seeing art makes me hungry as well, so I'm with her. And speaking of first visits, for our reopening in April, Maira designed a special edition sketchbook as a gift for first-time 10-year-old visitors to the Frick. Now, I'm sure you all want to be a 10-year-old visitor, right? This collaboration originated as an idea to celebrate this milestone. My Frick colleagues and I wanted to welcome our youngest participants, to their lifelong creative journey at the Frick, because once you come here, you're always part of the Frick, right? We thought, what better way to do this than to capture your sketches and musings in an artist journal made especially for you. Okay, now I'm going to be shameless because guess what? All of these books are available at our shop that's located right outside these doors. The cover and end papers of this sketchbook feature Maira's stunning work in embroidery, with details inspired by works of art in the permanent collection. Her way of sharing with everyone the dialogue that artists today continue to have with artists in the past. I remember when I first met Maira and watched this gorgeous detailed embroidery come to life. Imagine my surprise. So she came to the Frick to have her work photographed for the sketchbook, and she nonchalantly pulls it out of this slightly crumpled shopping bag, and it's stunning. So Maira is a celebrated author and illustrator of over 30 books for adults and children, and is a longtime contributor to the New York Times and the New Yorker. Her latest book of short stories and illustrations, Still Life with Remorse, was released last year. Please join me in welcoming Maira Kalman.
Hi. Thank you. Thank you for coming here on this rainy December night. I wouldn't have come. That's for sure. You could be certain of that. So I thought that I would cover one basic topic, and that would be on everything. And then they told me I only had about 45 minutes. So then I had to adjust it and to about some things, which will always end up being about death. I mean, I think that that's kind of what's going to happen here, but we won't get there yet. So I'm unable to start any talk I give without my mother's map of the United States. And so for those of you who have seen it before, I apologize, but it won't be bad to see it again. But basically, when I was working doing columns for the New York Times on American history, I asked people to make maps of the United States from memory. And everybody tried to do a really good job, which is the kiss of death in my family. And this is the map that my mother made. So, so I think we could end with that. You know, it probably is the most important piece of information and ephemera that I have in my life that I could share with you, because it's a complete testament to what Einstein said, which we say every day because we don't know that many things, that imagination is more important than knowledge. And that wasn't a quote that she had, you know, embroidered on a pillow. It was something that she did instinctively. And I think that when you live with somebody like that, who is very funny, very irreverent, and really encourages a sense of freedom in thinking, you know, that's a very good thing to have happened. So the map, obviously nothing is in the right place. And sorry the rest don't know, and thank you, excuse me, is a kind of nod to I couldn't care less, but, you know, there you go. So it brings me to my mother herself, and she was very beautiful, and after 38 years of an unhappy marriage, she left my father and went to live, and came back. They were in Tel Aviv, and she came back to live in New York, moved into a studio apartment. You know, she went from a woman of means. My father was a diamond dealer, not super wealthy, but good enough, and left everything behind and went to live in a studio apartment in New York. And she then, what she had done her whole life, but really codified it, was to only wear white. So in this moment in her life where she gave up all the trappings of her life, she also made a real understanding. She had a real understanding of what was important in her life and what she had to do. And so every day was a day full of meaning and very small gestures. You know, like going to the post office or buying, you know, a lemon, or, you know, that there wasn't a sense of loss. It was only a sense of gain that she had found her life. So when she died. And so she only wore white, and also her closet was a thing of extraordinary beauty. And it was also a visual embodiment of order and beauty. So when she died, I was standing in her closet with my sister, and it was a walk-in closet, so we had room. We weren't crowded into a few other people were with us. And I said, this closet should be a museum, and that my sister should sit in the apartment and wait for people to come. And, and she didn't agree that was a good idea. But fortunately, my son, Alex Kalman, has a museum called Museum, 2 M's in the front, 2 M's in the back, in a defunct elevator shaft on Cortlandt Alley, sorry. And I don't know if any of you have been there, but if not, well, it's closed for the winter, but it'll open again in the spring. And the exhibit now is rubble, which is, how could you go wrong with rubble? But at any rate, what happened was that he was able to install a replica of her beautiful closet on this grimy, dirty alleyway. And it became a vitrine, and it was covered with glass, and there was a light in it. So 24/7, this beautiful piece of art was on exhibit. And then, in a stroke of amazing luck, Amelia Peck, who is the curator of American history the American wing at the Met, came and said, I think I have a place where this might go. And so Sarah Berman's Closet went to the Met for 9 months. And what we couldn't stop enjoying was that her bras and underpants were at the Met. And we thought, like, this is a really good world, you know, that after this, it doesn't matter what else happens. And and then the show traveled, and so we were able to really enjoy watching people come to this. And what was really wonderful, what Amelia had understood, was that it would be next to and in dialogue with the closet of the richest woman in America in 1882, Arabella Huntington. So there was this sense of, there you have the provenance of wealth and extraordinary beauty on that level, and then you walk into this room that has nothing but this bare closet with these, as aforementioned, gigantic underpants and bras. And to talk about what does it mean, what life is worth remembering, and what is it about life that is worth remembering. So so that was really something that resonated tremendously. And we were able to do the book that I just showed you the cover of. We did a book called Sarah Berman's Closet. And it talks about the trajectory of her life from Belarus to Palestine to New York, and what it means to be what it means to have liberation, what it means to be a woman of independence after a lifetime of being very dependent. So there were a lot of conversations around that. And which brings me to about women, and the book called Women Holding Things. I think that, again, the way that ideas come is that you're walking around and wandering around and taking naps and watching murder mysteries and getting sad and getting happy, and then something bubbles up. And so what bubbled up was Women Holding Things. It was during the pandemic, and we were upstate, and we wanted to make books that would this is Alex and I, and well, I can talk about that collaboration and about what it means to work with somebody who has the same vocabulary as you, the same family vocabulary, but also a keen and honest eye and brain. So it's really something for me to have that. Thank you. I say thank you. So I'll read the beginning of the book. What do women hold? The home and the family and the children and the food and the friendships, the work of the world and the work of being human, the memories and the troubles and the sorrows and the triumphs and the love. Men do as well, but not quite in the same way. Sometimes when I'm feeling particularly happy or content, I think I can provide sustenance for legions of human beings. I can hold the entire world in my arms. Other times, I can barely cross the room, and I drop my arms frozen. And I think that's the conversation, well, everybody has that conversation about what is it that you're doing and how much is enough, and when have you done enough good for people, for yourself? When have you done enough work? When have you been kind enough? And that's a whole other thing. And it started, the first image that made me think that I was going to do this book was, we went to a farmer's market, again, during the pandemic, and a woman was holding a gigantic cabbage. And I thought, oh my God, you're so fantastic looking. Can I take your, I usually ask people if I can take their picture. And she was so annoyed with me and so irritated, and then stood there and said, okay, I will. And I thought, what on earth could she possibly be in a rush for? Nobody's going anywhere or doing anything, so what is it that, and I thought if somebody had stopped me with a cabbage, I would have been so delighted, and I would have been posing for, as long as they want, but she was really annoyed. So the book ranges with paintings and writing about my family, about other people, and about the sense of what it means to hold, here literally and metaphorically, obviously. And here's Edith Sitwell holding a giant book, as one does. And here is Toscanini with his daughter Wanda. And Toscanini was, Wanda was the kind of the servant of Toscanini her whole life, except for that she married Vladimir Horowitz, who was one of the greatest pianists, I think, in history. And so in a wonderful stroke of luck, I was able to buy Toscanini's pants at an auction. So, and it was announced in the Times that his grandson, Wilfredo, had died, and the estate was up for auction. And they mention in there, thinking that maybe, I don't know why they mentioned it, that his pants and his jacket were going to be on sale. So I ran up there, and I was prepared to pay any price, and hardly anybody bid against me. So I got the jacket and the pants, and they were his rehearsal suit. So, and that's the jacket that he's wearing there in that photo. And I think so. So I wear them sometimes, and so there's Toscanini's DNA brushing up against me, and then I think, well, maybe Horowitz sat on his lap. I don't know. So at some point. So I have Horowitz's DNA brushing up against me, and it's very fulfilling. Wanda, I don't really want to be near Wanda. She's tough, but okay. So, it's inescapable on sorrow and remorse. I think that there couldn't be any humor, and there couldn't be any of my work at all if it wasn't woven in, folded in and embedded with sorrow and remorse. So what's interesting about, again, one of the things that when I was wandering around and reading and looking at stuff, the only word I could see is like selective visual and selective auditory. I could only see or hear the word remorse. It's as if everything else had been wiped off the face of the earth, and I thought, well, that's fantastic. And I said, I should do a book about remorse. And then I thought, wow, it's interesting, because I have absolutely no remorse. And then 5 minutes later, I was annihilated with more remorse than it's like stopping for a second and say, oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I'm completely full of remorse, and couldn't be more ashamed of everything. It's a nice way to begin, but at any rate, that sense of and looking back, what strikes me as being the real issue of remorse is that you were not kind enough in whatever circumstance that happened to you. And I know that some of you may be thinking, what's the difference between regret and remorse? And now I can give you my stock answer, which is regret is, I'm sorry I ruined the soup. And remorse is, I'm sorry I ruined your life. And basically, a little bit, and I'm sorry, like, thank you very much, but I didn't mean to, but I did. And a lot of the time, obviously, you don't mean to. So, but looking back on a life and saying, well, what could I have done other? And then you say, well, I couldn't have done other because I didn't do other. And then, but maybe with the kind of the wisdom of time and the distance, you think, maybe I didn't have to be so brutal, because sometimes we are. So I'm going to read a few little things from remorse. This is Virginia Woolf's desk, but that's not the story that I'm reading. This is Uncle. Once our uncle sat in a gigantic black inner tube and floated in the sea. He fell asleep and drifted farther and farther from the shore. He was a tiny dot in the sea. People went out in a boat to rescue him. He could have been swept out to sea, but he was not, but he could have. This is what we call the possible, probable remorse tense, suffering after the fact over a disaster that could possibly have happened but did not. This tense occurs very frequently in our household, daily, even hourly. And I think that the idea of impending tragedy and impending disaster and annihilation and many other words that, the catastrophe, a few other ones you can think of. That kind of accompanies, well, does it accompany everybody here? I think it accompanies me. I don't know, can anybody else feel the same way? We're not supposed to have a question and answer section, but okay. But so, that's exhausting, to say the least. Okay, here's another story. And this is Mallarmé, but this is not about Mallarmé. This is about sheets. Once a man and a woman were married. Excuse me. She made excellent jams of all kinds, including quince, and she was fastidious. She loved to wash and iron the sheets all the time. To her, it was important to dry them in the fresh air. So she draped them all over the furniture to dry, and the man could not sit on the furniture when the sheets were drying. And it made him furious. They fought about it. Why do you have to dry the sheets all over the furniture? I can't sit down. She completely ignored him. She couldn't care less. One day, the woman had draped the sheets over the furniture, and the man was boiling with fury. He yelled at her, to no avail, and then he dropped dead. So you could say the laundry killed him. And you know, that's a true story, by the way. Just saying. So be careful. And then I'll read you one last thing here. Sorry, it's hidden over here. Okay. Everything. Everything is perfect. Everything is good. Everything is in its place. Everything is mended. There is nothing left to mend. Everything is washed, folded, ironed, put away in neat stacks. There is lavender in the drawers, and the drawers open easily. Everything is done. Everything is sorted out, cleaned, polished, put away. Everything is finished, and there is nothing left to say. There is nothing left to say or do but sit quietly in the middle of the room and look at the vase, flowers, and books. And yet, everything is a mess. Everyone is undone. Everything is broken. Everyone is sad. Everyone is depressed. Everything is hopeless. Everyone is desperate. Everyone is wrapped in malaise. A dense blanket of malaise covers the earth. And yet, everyone continues to live. Everyone reconsiders despair. Everyone starts to have a good time. Everyone starts to enjoy life. So we don't know where we are right now, but somewhere in that space. So this is one of my favorite things to do, is to do paintings of people dead in bed. Of course, Proust, and this is from a Man Ray photo, and you know, I always say that it's usually easier to have a relationship with the dead people than with a living person. I think, you know, that you don't have the complication of arguing about the sheets or stuff like that. It's already over. It's all over. So all you can do, in a way, is you can maybe feel remorse about what you might have changed or might have done differently. But you know, I wouldn't do anything differently with Proust. I love him as he is, and he's perfect. So and I tell him that all the time. And then there's Chekhov, dead in bed. And you know, he had an unhappy marriage with Olga Knippel. And, you know, usually she's blamed. And then I thought, well, why is she blamed? Maybe, you know, he was a bounder and a ladies' man, and, you know, maybe he was really unbearable. And so, but we still love him very much, and it hurts to think that he died, and there he is, dead in bed. And the one that I didn't bring tonight is I have Tolstoy dead in bed, and, you know, he went a little bit crazy at the end of his life and ran away from home, and I guess ended up at a train station and slept there and was there for a few days. I don't know, maybe some of you know how quickly he died. But at any rate, the wallpaper in that room is just spectacular. So you could say there's a sad thing, Tolstoy dead, and then there's this great thing. The wallpaper is amazing. So you have to take the good with the bad. So this brings me to the Frick. In the wonderful way that things just appear and then people ask you to do something. I don't know whose idea was it. Was it Xavier or Michelin to do the diptych, the Polish writer? Do you know? Anyway, somebody at the Frick decided it was a good idea for me to do the introduction to Xavier Solomon's book on the Polish writer. So they asked me to do it, and then I said to Xavier, I'm not that impressed with the Polish writer. And he said, who's asking you whether you're impressed or not? But, and it was really, I thought I could have a conversation and can talk him out of that book and maybe, convince him to get rid of the painting, because I thought he didn't really do such a great job. But at any rate, so that was quieted. But what I had in the back of my, so I wrote this essay, Paintings and Writing, about Rembrandt, and I also fell in love with Rembrandt along the way, and he did a damn fine job. But I really have always coveted the gigantic green sofa in the Titian room, in the room with the Titians and the some other paintings, the Holbeins. And I've never been able to sit on it because you're not allowed to sit on it. So then I thought, wouldn't it be fantastic if I could convince them to let me lie down on the sofa and pretend to be dead at the Frick, and it would be part of the essay, that I would be, like there are terrible things happen, but wouldn't it be great if you could die at the Frick? So, and it was really, so they let me, in a very gracious moment, there was Ian, Xavier's in the blue suit, Rembrandt's there saying, well done, and it was really fantastic. And I think that in those, what kind of things are you actually wishing for? Lying dead at the Frick on a green sofa? And I thought, yeah, that's what I want. So, so the joy of, so after remorse, we get to a certain level of, well, what else is there? And they say, well, there's joy. And so and it also can be the inconsistency of joy, because obviously things change hourly. And really what my work is about is wandering about and falling in love many, many times during the day. I think that I'm ambi-curious and in falling in lovingness. And so there's the Stanley sink that I saw in Wales, and I thought, well, I'm going to marry this sink. But and a candy shop in Rome, where everything was perfection. And I just actually was in Rome recently and went back to visit, and they had changed the display, and so another painting will come of it. And I think that just to be able to look at the window of a candy shop in Rome and feel that the world is a good place and that good things will happen, I highly recommend it. Stop at every candy shop you walk by, and of course bed. I mean, what can be better than bed? Any time of day. So the idea that this is a bed in an Austrian hotel, and they really know their way around quilts and pillows and stuff. So, and I think that the level of what constitutes joy, and so, maybe I should read a little bit of joy, maybe a teeny bit. So to obviously, working on a book called Joy at this point in everybody's life is a quizzical situation and has its challenges. So this is how I begin the book. Do you think I am an idiot? Don't I know that you know that sorrow and pain envelop our planet and our little lives, that perils lurk and shadow our every move, that injustice destroys the soul? Isn't Alfred Dreyfus sitting in his prison cell on Devil's Island? Wasn't he unjustly accused of espionage, causing the destruction of his life and perhaps the destruction of much of French society? Did the world watch? Did the world shudder? Wasn't this room witness to Beethoven's suffering? Wasn't he ill and completely deaf when he wrote Ode to Joy? Don't you know that Kafka, who was so Kafkaesque, but still had a dog and loved cabaret music, went to sanatoriums in the hopes of curing his illness, but still died so young? And don't we know that Virginia Woolf, who could be the life of the party, died by her own hand? And didn't I see this woman walking toward me out of the icy winter mist and fog, solitary and pensive? Didn't I feel her loneliness that darkens every minute of life? Didn't my friend's grandfather, upon immigrating to this country, make a list of vocabulary words? And didn't I make an embroidery of the words? And aren't you amused when you see the embroidery? What might happen if you could leave gloom pervasive and perils lurking for just a little bit? Where might you go? What solace might you find? So I think that walking into a room like this with books filling a table, which is a room that I went to recently in Bologna, and that if you can walk into a room like that, you find the reason for living. I think that really kind of reaffirms everything about what I think. And I say, so what do I say at the end about that room? And finally, when you go home, won't you be welcomed by all of your books and papers? Won't you be grateful? And even if you are alone, won't you murmur a word of thanks, a benediction of sorts? May it ever be like this. So, utopia and heaven, two lovely places that none of us will visit. So the Utopia was David Byrne's show, American Utopia. And so he asked me to do the show curtain, which is this thing that's in front of the stage, and then it goes up during the show. And what was most wonderful about the collaborating with him is that there is not an iota of cynicism or glibness or snarkiness in any of this, that he really means American Utopia. He means that people are doing extraordinary things, that you could find wonderful goodness and reasons to be cheerful, I think is his site, everywhere you go. And if you're looking for that, you'll find it. So it was wonderful to collaborate with that on him, and just like the scope of both music and dancing, which you have to sing every day and you have to dance, as Nietzsche said. And you know what Nietzsche said about dancing. A day without dancing is a wasted day. Nietzsche said that. What? So it's really, that euphoric feeling of what it means to be alive in the best sense was reaffirmed with this. And I think that what happened, not as a result of that, but as a counterpoint to what everybody's feeling now and what everybody's thinking now, was an embroidery that I did that just came out, and it's called "Heaven Help Us." And I'm going to read the text that goes with this. So I thought it was kind of like the Bayeux Tapestry, but not as long and not about war. Other than that, it's exactly the same thing. So this is the text for that. Heaven help us. We have nature. We have trees, flowers, lakes, oceans, fish, birds, and dogs. We have books and music. We have dancing. We have sorrow and loneliness. We have a party to go to, presents to wrap. We have a green sweater. We have children. We have fantastic peaches. We have walking or sitting on a bench near a tree with a book. We have talking, but not too much talking. We have lemon pound cake. We have silence. We have singing. We have dread. We have failure. We have tyrants. We have war. We have each other. Not every minute, but many minutes. We have a painting. We have a lunch. We have a bowl of pasta. We have a plan of action. We have a hummingbird. We have a new pair of shoes. We have an amazement of beauty. We have the day. So that's the sense of what that kind of feeling is right now. So back to the frick. How hard can it be to embroider hands? So when it was Xavier and April asked me to do a journal for children who finally, their only wish in life was to be able to come to the frick. I thought, really? At the age of 10, a 10-year-old didn't want anything else but to come to the frick. And there would be, which is really a wonderful thing. And I'm sure there are some children who really do care. And so there was a journal that would be given to them as a special event. And so I thought, well, why do a painting when you spend hundreds of hours embroidering all the hands in all of the paintings at the frick? and have an embroidered cover for this journal. So then I realized, well, that was completely insane. So I thought, it won't be all the hands, it'll be a good number of hands. And then it went down from a good number to many, and then it went down to some, and then we went to a few. So the cover is, and it was beautifully recreated for the, for this project. And so it was an exercise, and I thought there would be a treasure hunt, that the children would have the book, and then they would run around with great glee, finding the hands, which are so malformed in my embroidery, that I don't know if they'd ever find one of them. But at any rate, I assure you that they're all from paintings from here, and this is the back cover, which I threw in a few other things. But what I thought was going to happen, and I think I may have mentioned it in a meeting, April, was that when the children would get the journal, what would happen was that I would meet a group of children once a month. We'd go to the restaurant, and we'd all share a sundae that was named the Maira. I think that was in my contract, but I have yet to hear from anybody, and I've spent a lot of time wondering what's going to be the flavor, and what's going to, it's going to be this fantastic thing, and I really, care about it tremendously. So, maybe now it can happen. Do they serve sundaes at the restaurant? They do? Oh, okay. They have ice cream. Okay, that's a start. So, so what's nice about that kind of thing is that the having the sundae with the children was as important, if not more important, than the book itself, which I really love doing. And I'm very grateful that I was catapulted into this world. So we'll see. Maybe if any any children, one day. So I'm going to end with a whole other thing, and in the wonderful world of doing whatever the hell you please, and Alex and I have made a series of movies relating to the books that I've done. And the last one was where I played Alice B. Toklas, from having illustrated the autobiography of Alice B. Toklas. So then we thought, well, what Remorse has characters in it that I could play? Clara Schumann. There's Clara enjoying a grilled cheese sandwich and a Diet Coke, and confessing to the camera that she often can't tell the difference, and it was a bit of a problem for Robert, between Schubert and Schumann. And I think many of you probably couldn't tell the difference either. So that drove him nuts, and well, you know the rest. So sad ending. And then, Cicero's, in the Remorse book, Cicero's in there, and he had a terrible falling out with Cleopatra, as many of you know, and then there are other characters. And then the character I think that was closest to my heart was Kafka. So and by the way, there are Toscanini's pants, just in case you were wondering what Kafka is wearing. So so we made a short film, 3 minutes of these 4 characters, including Martha Graham, who's not in the book, but I thought, how hard could it be to dance as Martha Graham? So not hard at all, as it turns out. So at any rate, here's a little snippet of the Still Life with Remorse film, and I just want to say that all the quotes in this are from the diaries, with the kind permission of Ross Benjamin, who did this fantastic translation of this stupendous book of madness and beauty. I highly recommend. I'm sure some of you have read it, but I highly recommend Kafka's Diaries. It came out a few years ago. So here's Kafka. Maybe you can turn it up a bit. Louder? Yeah, you should turn it up.
My měli jsme se rádi, zbraní a pohádkou byl svět nám. Pak přešlo léto žhavy, jeseně dny hravy, mráz květy lásky pálil, vzpomínám. Po letech až najdeme psaní o našem něžném milování, o srdci, jež nás stále hledá, o touze, která klidu nedá. Jak rty po lásce se tají a oči podivný lesk mají, jak marně kdo si v dáli čeká a nocí dnem jen volá nás. Pak vím, že spíti touhou, tak nekonečně dlouhou, zatoužíme se vrátit snad na chvíli pouhou. Po letech až najdeme psaní o našem něžném milování, nám bude hezké vzpomínání, co bylo v naší lásce krás. Tak nekonečně dlouhou, zatoužíme se vrátit snad na chvíli pouhou. Po letech až najdeme psaní o našem něžném milování, nám bude hezké vzpomínání, co bylo v naší lásce krás.
That's it. We know, and we say, I think that that's the sentiment that I always, from whence this sudden confidence, may it remain. Thank you very much.